Today we're going to talk about the nomenclature of alkanes, and alkanes are a class of hydrocarbons, as we mentioned later, that contains only single bonds. So if I have carbon chain like that, so this is an alkane. If I do have a chain that contains, for example, a double bond like that, this is not an alkane. A triple bond, this is not an alkane. So how do I name this thing? And of course, the alkanes are saturated. By saturated, we mean that all carbons doesn't have any vacant or empty electrons that doesn't have bonds. So all of these carbons each one forms 4 bonds, as we can see. So the simplest alkane will form bonds with hydrogens like that. So how do I name this thing? The first rule is to count the number of carbons. So if we have 1 carbon, this is called meth, and then we add the prefix ane, so it's methane. The 2 carbons is eth, so it's ethane. 3 is prop, so it's propane. 4 is bute, so it's butane. And 5 is pent, so pentane. Then 6 is hexane. 7 is hept, so heptane. 8 is octane. 9 is nonane, and finally 10 is decane. So these are actually fixed for the numbers. So for example, for naming alkenes and alkynes, we put ethine, ethene, and so on. So we just changed this prefix. So that's the basic rule for naming the alkanes. Then it gets a little bit more complex. What if, so this example is, of course, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons, so this is simply butane. What if I removed one of these hydrogens and I replaced it with something called Alkyl Group, or a halogen? So halogens are fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine, and they can form single bonds with carbon. So we can remove this hydrogen and put a chlorine in here, for example, or fluorine, and so on. Or an alkyl group. An alkyl group is an alkane with an H removed, so that there is a vacant orbital here that needs an extra electron, so it forms a single bond. For example, this one, CH3. This contains 1 carbon, so it will be meth, and then we add this methyl group, or this one, C2H5. So this contains 2 carbons, so it will be eth. Then we add ethyl group, and so on.